Welcome to the So That's Why podcast, where we unpack the science behind everyday questions. I'm Jen.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
So today's question is, why do we need vitamin D? And I don't mean the vague, it's good for your bones answer. I mean, what is it actually doing inside your body that makes it absolutely essential?
So vitamin D really is a super vitamin, as we'll discuss today. In fact, it's not just a vitamin, it also functions as a hormone because your body produces it, it regulates genes, and it has receptors in virtually every cell in our body.
So vitamin D is actually a hormone.
Yeah, so it's still considered as a vitamin, but as your body can produce it and it has hormonal activity and function, many scientists now classify it as a hormone too.
So in this episode, we'll discuss why vitamin D is essential for everything from calcium absorption to immune function, why deficiency is so widespread despite us being able to make it from sunlight, and what happens when you don't get enough.
Yeah, because I've read, right, that nearly half of the global population is deficient in vitamin D. I mean, that's a big old market right there. You know, billions of people not having enough of something that their body desperately needs to function properly. So it does beg the question, doesn't it? If we can make vitamin D from sunshine, why are almost half of us on the planet still deficient? Which is I'm sure, actually, something that you guys are going to get into.
So vitamin D deficiency isn't just about weak bones. It's about why you might feel constantly exhausted, catch every bug going around, and struggle with muscle weakness. It affects far more than people realise.
Yeah, it's true. And the consequences range from the obvious, so bone diseases in children and adults, but also to things we don't traditionally think of in relation to vitamin D. So immune system problems, as you mentioned, muscle weakness, and increased infection risk.
Okay, so let's start with the fundamental question here then. What is vitamin D doing that makes it so crucial for me?
Its primary job is regulating calcium absorption. So your intestines need it to effectively absorb that calcium.
And then you've got its role in the immune system. Vitamin D controls antimicrobial peptides, which are your first defence against bacteria and viruses.
So in Matt language, it gives your immune cells better weapons to deal with it all.
I like that. Yeah, exactly. Better weapons sounds good. But cleverly, it also prevents immune overreaction. So it promotes regulatory cells that stop your immune system from attacking your own tissues. That's why deficiency links to autoimmune disease risk.
And again, my language. So what this is doing is making your immune system more effective against threats whilst preventing friendly fire.
Perfect description.
Thank you.
It's about balance, not just strength.
Absolutely. And then we think about other things. So if you think about muscles for a moment. So vitamin D supports strength. Vitamin D deficiency causes proximal muscle weakness. So those big muscles in your thighs and upper arms get noticeably weaker.
So basically what you're saying is if we want big guns, I need to take my vitamin D.
Exactly.
There's another marketing slogan right there.
But in terms that people might be able to relate to better, deficiency can affect things like stair climbing, standing up from chairs, any movement that those big muscle groups need to do.
It can. And when it comes to healthy bones, we already know there's the link with calcium absorption, but vitamin D also regulates what we call bone remodeling. So this is the constant process of breaking down old bones and building new bone. Without it, bones don't mineralise properly. They're structurally there, but they're soft and weak.
So is this where bowed legs in rickets come from?
Yeah, it does. Bones deform under natural stress because they haven't mineralised correctly. They're not strong enough, are they?
Okay. So what then are the other issues associated with vitamin D deficiency that we need to think about?
There are loads, and the implications are serious. So without adequate vitamin D, your body can only absorb about half the amount of that dietary calcium that it should.
So years of drinking milk for strong bones without checking maybe the vitamin D status might not be as effective as we think.
Absolutely. It is essential to check that there is sufficient vitamin D too. And now a lot of milks, including plant milks, are typically fortified with vitamin D for that reason.
Also, the consequences of low vitamin D extend beyond calcium and bone health too, don't they? You know, vitamin D deficiency increases the risk of respiratory infections and also contributes to tiredness.
Yeah, it's always amazing how these things are all connected, isn't it? So vitamin D manages all of these factors you mentioned simultaneously.
So then how does sunshine actually make vitamin D then? That is something I'm curious about.
So your skin contains a cholesterol derivative, and what happens is when ultraviolet light from the sun hits the skin, it causes a conversion process that ultimately produces vitamin D3. That then travels to your liver and then to your kidneys as part of its journey to become fully active in the body.
So it's a 3-stage production line: skin, liver, kidneys, all driven by UV light. And it's tightly regulated, isn't it, based on your body's calcium needs, just like other hormones.
So why is then, as I said earlier, half the world's population is deficient? Why is that if we can make vitamin D from sunlight? Because half the world is not, deprived of the sun.
Is it? Yeah.
No, that's it. And there are multiple factors come into play here. So vitamin D synthesis, it needs UV radiation, but it's got to be at the right angle. So we're typically talking about midday sun. So if you live above, I think it's 35 degrees latitude, which is effectively north of Los Angeles or of southern Spain, winter sun never gets high enough. So your skin physically can't produce vitamin D, for several months of the year.
So everyone in the UK, basically, Scandinavia, Canada, these sorts of countries, they're at risk of not getting enough sun to produce sufficient vitamin D. Is that right?
It's true. In fact, there was a bizarre stat for UK listeners only that apparently if you live north of Milton Keynes, on the average year, you don't get enough UV for the entirety of the year.
Oh, wow.
To consistently.
Well, that would be me. I live north of Milton Keynes.
Yeah, me too.
Although we have had some sunny years recently, so maybe it's better. But it's more about your lifestyle, actually, than anything, because even sunny climates show high vitamin D deficiency rates among their populations. So if you look at the Middle East, for example, they've got a 65% deficiency rate, and that's due to staying indoors or covering up to escape the heat of the sun. Even Australia, we think it's pretty sunny normally in Australia, right? But their deficiency rates are really high. And some areas of India, equally, they show near 100% of the population in some local areas to be vitamin D deficient.
And skin pigmentation matters as well, doesn't it? Because you've got melanin in your skin, which is your natural sun protection chemical, and it helps protect against sun damage. But it means darker skinned individuals need more sun exposure to then produce the same amount of vitamin D.
And I guess if you've got darker skin and you live in a northern climate, that's like a double jeopardy, right? Double challenge going on.
Exactly. It's a genuine health equity issue that doesn't get enough attention, really.
No, that's right. And of course, age affects it too. But what you might not realise is that someone in their 70s would produce, on average, only about a quarter of the vitamin D a 20-year-old would make from the identical sun exposure.
So if you think then about, I think about the Aussies, their vitamin D, they're deficient. They've got a lot of sunshine. The thing that I hear banded about all the time is that's because they wear sunscreen. Is that a myth or is that true?
So this notion that vitamin D is blocked by sunscreen wearing, it's a complete myth. So sunscreens do block a high percentage of that ultraviolet B, UVB rays, but not all of them, which means enough of that UV gets through to our skin to allow it to produce vitamin D. And this is such an important topic because obviously skin cancer is incredibly serious. So please do not believe rubbish spreading online that we shouldn't wear sunscreen because of vitamin D. I appreciate it's a bigger topic, but please, if you're spending time in the sun during the spring and summer months, wear sunscreen, full stop. You don't need to worry about vitamin D production in that situation. So when it comes to the sun and avoiding sun damage, the safest solution is to cover up and stay out of the sun, and of course, just take vitamin D supplements.
So speaking then of the supplements that we're going to be taking, I see it more and more, fortified with vitamin D. It seems to be becoming a bigger and bigger thing, right? Because I guess we've had to admit that our modern diets don't naturally provide enough vitamin D, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, many countries fortify milk and cereals, but often they still use vitamin D2 because it's seen as the vegetarian option, because vitamin D3 is usually from animals. But at Vegetology, we wanted an effective vitamin D3, as D3 is nearly 90% more effective than D2. But we wanted a vegan source, so that's why we developed our plant source D3, which is one of our hero products.
Oh, it sure is. And importantly, testing has shown that our plant source vitamin D3 is directly equivalent to animal-derived vitamin D3 and just as bioavailable, which means it does just the same job in the body. The body basically can't tell the difference.
Okay, so the source then of our vitamin D supplementation, the D3, isn't as important as the molecular structure.
Exactly. Plant-derived, animal-derived, or fish-derived. Vitamin D3 is vitamin D3. The key point is looking for vitamin D3 from your supplement or fortified food, not vitamin D2.
Okay, that's very useful. So let's get practical. How much vitamin D3 do we need?
Yes, this is frustrating because the figures are all over the place. In Europe, we now use what's known as the nutrient reference value, or NRV, which was previously the recommended daily amount, or RDA. And that is, in Europe, is 200 international units per day of vitamin D. However, many health institutes recommend more. They'll recommend 400 to 800 international units per day of vitamin D, with some arguing even more than that, so kind of 1,000 to 2,000 IU per day of vitamin D. So it really is all over the place.
And I guess the recommended intakes are so varied because they're in different places and they take into account average sun exposure, age, skin tones, and medical factors that can impact vitamin D levels. So it's a complicated picture.
Okay, so I guess the recommended daily amount, what did you call it? The NRV. I wish they'd just stick to one.
I know.
I don't know what was wrong with RDA. Everyone knew recommended daily amount. RDA.
Yeah.
Why change it? Why change it, Europe? I have more questions for Europe, but that's one of them. So I guess if the amounts is varied, my question would be, can I take too much vitamin D?
Yes, so in Europe, there is an established upper safe limit when it comes to vitamin D, and it's 4,000 IU, or international units, per day. So that's seen as the maximum amount considered safe for ongoing and continuous daily intake.
Okay, so find a supplement. Then, of course, the next problem is remember to take that supplement, right? That can be the harder part. Like, gym memberships are great, aren't they? They start well in January, but by March, it's not being used. And I guess vitamin D is one of those where it could just be a bottle gathering dust on the side of the counter.
Yeah, but the good news is vitamin D is fat soluble, so it's stored in your body. So you do have a little bit of a buffer, but I don't think you can rely on the summer sun, especially in the UK, to carry you through the winter.
Fair enough. Okay. So we've talked about supplements then as a really sensible option, especially if we're thinking about sensibly staying out of the sun. What about food sources that can give us vitamin D?
Yes, the food sources really are limited. So oily fish, egg yolk, and some meats contain a little vitamin D, but even then the levels are hit and miss and sometimes zero. So it's challenging for everyone to get meaningful vitamin D levels from food alone, especially, of course, vegans and vegetarians that won't consume those items. So plant sources in our diets are really limited in vitamin D levels. So really we're looking at either fortified foods, or for most people, supplementation is the most reliable option.
Okay. And this for us is where plant source D3 really matters, right?
Yeah, absolutely, especially for those that don't eat meat. Plant source vitamin D3 means that nobody needs to compromise either by missing out or using a less effective D2.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that when you've got meats and dairy with vitamin D, they've often been fortified. So it's just the meat's taking a supplement rather than you.
I suppose that's what fortified means.
Yeah. With added extras.
But going back to the sun, obviously it's very important for us. Sun exposure remains incredibly valuable for our health, but it shouldn't be your only strategy when it comes to vitamin D, especially in those autumn and winter months, as I mentioned. You're just not going to get enough intensity.
Yeah, so the best strategy, I guess, is whatever you'll actually stick to, like exercise. Just what can you do consistently, right?
Exactly. Daily supplement, weekly high dose, or fortified foods, plus supplementation. Consistency beats perfection.
Yeah, it's true. And if we look at how things connect, you've got sleep quality, for instance. So Vitamin D receptors exist in the brain areas regulating sleep-wake cycles. Deficiency links to poor sleep and difficulty falling asleep and reduced deep sleep.
And the immune connection affects both fighting infections, preventing autoimmune conditions where your body basically attacks its healthy tissue.
That's it. And if we go all the way back to muscle function that we talked about earlier, deficiency means muscles can't work optimally, and that's regardless of the training that you do.
Exactly, fighting a handicap you might not know about.
Yeah, so vitamin D functions as the ultimate regulator in our body. So it's constantly coordinating multiple biological systems. But these things have a huge impact on our health. So it's so important.
Yeah, and it explains the varied symptoms, doesn't it? Fatigue, muscle weakness, frequent infections, mood changes. In effect, there are multiple systems we have running below capacity.
And with nearly half the world's population deficient, this means that billions of people are at risk of conditions that could be prevented.
Yep, and when it comes to vitamin D, supplementation is one of the most cost-effective health interventions available anywhere. In fact, let's be honest, I don't know anyone that works in the healthcare sector that doesn't take vitamin D supplements themselves, and no one that would not push the importance of vitamin D.
And understanding the why helps prioritise it, doesn't it? Because it's fair to say, traditionally, the daily vitamin focus has always been on vitamins like vitamin C rather than vitamin D3.
So why do we need vitamin D? Because it's a vitamin and a hormone that regulates over 1,000 genes. It coordinates calcium absorption, it manages immune function, it helps maintain muscle strength and influences cellular processes throughout your body.
Yeah, and nearly half of us don't have enough of this master regulator, but we keep calling it a vitamin like it's just another supplement, when actually maybe it's, I don't know, conducting your cellular orchestra.
Cellular orchestra, I like that. That's one I've never heard before.
Yeah, I'm trademarking it. I just want you to know.
So that's why we need vitamin D. Checking levels and supplementing when needed isn't optional. It's actually essential. That's it for this week. Hit subscribe. We're unpacking science behind everyday questions weekly. Tell us in the comments what you'd like us to explore. Thanks for geeking out with us. That's it from me.
That's it from me.
And that's it from me.
Bye for now.